And I began to bring 2 or 3 disciplines together: psychoneuroimmunology, which is a big word for how thoughts and emotions affect the immune, nervous, and endocrine system, but also anthropology. Anthropology looks at how people group themselves, how they are affected by control, group self-esteem, and things like that. And then the third part is neuroscience, the latest in neuroscience, how we're beginning to debunk a lot of the myths that we thought were the way that the brain works. So the CD is a way of breaking the theory down. For example, the work that I did with centenarians, people who live over 100, to also debunk the myth about aging, that you don't age and deteriorate as gerontology says. You age based on the cultural beliefs that you have to a certain degree. And this I got from the research that I did with people who live over 100 all over the world. And it's not genetics. So after each of the CDs, we have a theme, and after each of the CDs, there's a practical application, and there are exercises so that you can actually assimilate the information. There's also one about forgiveness, which is a very important component of health, and not just intellectual forgiveness, but a phenomenological, existential, even spiritual forgiveness, but with specific methods of how to do it. And it's a form of liberation. Another one about relationships, about abundance, why people sabotage themselves when they know that they want something, and just before they get it, they get sick, or after they get it, they get sick, or they sabotage it. And much more that we'll be talking about. But the good part about it is I'm bringing complex science into practical applications, everyday applications that you can put to use, not just tell you about how wonderful things are, but the discoveries of science, and not give you any methodology to apply.
And that's what I love about the 6 CD set, too, because it's not just some new agey, think positively and life will be fantastic, roses and everything's going to be great. You scientifically go through how the body reacts to our beliefs, and that's formed by, what would you say, that's formed by our parents, by the upbringing that we have, our religion that's been a lot of times placed upon us as we're born, right?
Yes, our culture is really a very important component of belief systems, and our culture assigns what I call cultural editors, assigns authority to, for example, a doctor in a hospital, a father at home, a mother at home, or a clergy in church. And what happens is that those beliefs, or whatever you're taught, are assimilated into your biology. Your biology will adjust to the beliefs that you present to your biology, because our perception is based on movement. It's based on, from very early in life, we learned that symbols are necessary for our survival, so the symbols become a biological, what I call biosymbols. So those people shape your life, and sometimes for the good, but sometimes not for the good. When they tell you you're poor, and you'll always be poor, and you'll never have a chance to be wealthy, and to be poor is honorable, things like that have nothing to do with reality, then you live your life based on what you were taught. Not that being poor or being wealthy have anything to do with happiness, but having wealth of health, love, and money are a good way to have a place in life to help people that you love, help yourself, but also spread it.
And something too that you had talked about on the CD set, and then and in depth, which I really I love the whole CD set. Okay, but the words that English gives to the times of the life cycle, middle age, adolescent, and you were talking about the whole idea about not letting people know your age. When someone asks you why is that something that's important, that you think is important for people?
Well, because there's some research that's been done about how context affects your age, and one study that was done looked at why is it that some people look younger than their age and other people look older. And what they were able to define and clarify was that the factor that makes someone looks, of course, it has to do with also abuse of food and things like that. But in that study, the factor was that people that look older thought that middle age started 10 to 15 years earlier. So it's like a marker that you're placing, it's a biocultural marker that you're placing, and then you begin to live and attribute things based on that. You'll say, oh, I'm too old now, I'm middle age, I can't go back to school, I can't fall in love again. All those things are culture, have nothing to do with biology. And that's what I teach in the CD. That you have to, you don't tell your age, because if you tell your age, you're going to be put into a place, you're going to be categorized into a place, and then you'll be treated that way, and your biology will adjust to that. This is why people in general who retire into going to Florida to watch a sunset, and you think this is wonderful, what happens is they get sick. They get sick because they lose the meaning, but also they start thinking retirement consciousness. And retirement consciousness ages very quickly. Look at people that you know that have retired, and look how fast they age after they retire.
And you would think that with less stress, right?
Right, and it's the other way around. Centenarians, people who live over 100, never retire. And when you ask them what's middle age, and they say, I don't know till I die. I'm not going to know what middle age is. So those are ridiculous things that actuarial insurance companies put out. Don't ever read any actuarial that tells you that you're going to live so much. That's not science. That is speculation to make money.
And also, I mean, going back to the health aspect, and we talked a little bit before in previous shows about the placebo effect and the nocebo effect. This is really important, that when you have someone in authority, let's say someone with a white coat and a stethoscope, who says, I'm sorry, Mario, you have this dreaded disease and you'll be lucky if you get 6 months to live. Talk about the power that has on the individual, hearing that.
An authority has tremendous nocebo power, which is the opposite of placebo. Nocebo is I shall do harm. Placebo, I shall do wellness or good. So when you're told that you have so much time to live, when you're told that is a prognosis based on an average of groups, it's not as specific. Now, there's an ethical component that if you have a terminal illness, you need to be told that there's something that is serious, and it could be terminal, but not sentencing you and telling you that you have 6 months. Why? Because when you look at the normal curve, you can see that the average with that illness lives 6 months. On the left side of the curve, of the normal curve, you'll see that people live 6 weeks. But on the right, you see people that live 10 years. And those are the people that we study. That's the causes of health is on the right, the learning of illness is on the left, and in the middle is that prognosis, that tunnel of helplessness that they put you in. So you can tell people that they have an illness that could be terminal, but not in a way that sentences you into a time factor, because that's not science. That is speculation, and not anything based on the individual, but it's based on group average analysis of variance, not individual idiographic kind of research, which is what tells you that each individual is a universe.
And when you do believe into that, let's say that 6 month marker, I can imagine that as you go through your day and you feel like maybe one day you're feeling a little tired, or something happens, and you say, see, there's an indicator right there that I only have 6 months. And so you create your whole reality around you that you're going to go in 6 months.
Exactly.
And as we know with the placebo effect with the pill, when you take a pill and it's told that you're going to lower your blood pressure or your cholesterol, and although it's just a sugar pill, when you give that pill that much power, your body reacts. So you could be giving your own self a death sentence that doesn't have to happen.
No, and I'll give you an example. This is something that's reported in one of the scientific journals. Think of the culture. This is a Catholic hospital where the culture is Catholic, and then there's a priest, and the priest comes in to see a patient in one of the rooms and to give him the last rites. So the patient sees the priest and he says, I'm here to give you the last rites. He gives him the last rites. The patient dies 15 minutes later. The slight problem is that he went to the wrong room.
No. Oh.
He went to the wrong room, and the person that was scheduled, in parentheses, to die, waited 2 days till the priest found him. And he died when the priest showed up. Why? Because there are two authorities here. You have the authority of the doctor, which you presume that if a priest is coming to give you last rites, he has talked to the doctor.
Yeah.
So therefore, you trigger the process of death, and you die. That is completely a nocebo effect.
Wow. Wow. Folks, if you're just tuning in and your jaw dropped as much as mine, you're listening to Dr. Mario Martinez. He's the author of The Mind-Body Code. It's a 6 CD set that we're offering this hour. It's on how the mind wounds and heals the body. Yes, the mind does wound the body, but it also can heal the body in so many different ways. We're going to continue our conversation, but I want to get some folks on the line right now to support this kind of information. This should be front page news. This should be Fox, CNN. Everybody should be, Dr. Oz. Okay, everybody should be talking about this because this is absolutely amazing. Think about all of the wonderful things that could happen when people realize how much power their beliefs have, their thoughts, their cultural, imagine what can be accomplished. But again, it is something that is not discussed, not talked about, and it is scientifically backed up. Okay? This should be on every single major newspaper, the little ticker at the bottom, that you see, instead of, the Kardashians are traveling in the Bahamas or whatever. This should be the number one story, but it is not. But we're bringing it to you. If you want to support that, if you want to get the information, that's the most important thing. That's why Dr. Mario Martinez does the work he does. He loves human beings. He loves to see people thrive and not to buy into these cultural markers that we have through our, relating to our health, our happiness, our wealth, our relationships. He is so excited about this material. I'm so excited about this material. We want to get it out to you. So if you want to give us a call, we're going to get this. We need about 25 people this hour. 25 people in the next 45 minutes to get the Mind-Body Code. It is a 6 CD set. What I tell everybody, you can take the CDs. This is what I did immediately. Take the CDs, put them onto your, laptop if you want. Download them onto your MP3 player on your smartphone, and that way you can put your little headphones on and you can listen to these. Every single section too, there is an exercise. There is, it's not just talking to you about, do this, do that. He actually walks you through the exercises so you can do them and you will see the amazing results. This 6 CD set, we are asking for a donation of just $20.83 a month. It is a total contribution of $250. You want to do that all at once? That's great. You want to do a payment plan? You can do that. And here's what we're going to do. Everyone who calls this hour and gets the Mind-Body Code, the 6 CD set, you're going to get a 7th CD. You're going to get another CD absolutely free. This is the audio CD from the event, the Dr. Mario Martinez event that was a fundraiser. It was a successful event. We did get to raise some incredible money. We got some wonderful listeners who came out and participated. We had questions from the audience. So many of your questions that you have for Dr. Martinez, they were asked. We had cards handed out, and we got to ask the questions. It was a fun, entertaining event and educational. Every single person said, thank you so much for producing this event. That means a lot. That audio CD, we're going to give that to you for free. So you call up, get the Mind-Body Code for $20.83 a month if you use your credit card, and we throw in a 7th CD for free. If times are tough and you still want to contribute to the station and you want to support the work that Dr. Mario Martinez does, the work that all of our wonderful volunteers do and our programmers and staff that work so hard, and you just can contribute $25, do that. We'll send you the audio CD of Dr. Martinez from the event that happened at Emmanuel Presbyterian Church. It is a lively, incredible event. That audio CD, if you want it by itself, a $25 pledge. 516-620-3602. That is the number to call to get a hold of the 6 CD set, the Mind-Body Code. That was Dr. Mario Martinez, you heard earlier, a world-renowned neuropsychologist. The information in this 6 CD set is so absolutely powerful. I highly recommend it. The number again is 516-620-3602. I am Christine Blosdell. I'm visiting here from Los Angeles. I flew a long way to support WBAI, one of the most incredible radio stations on this planet. If you are from any other place, you understand how valuable WBAI is. The information that you get, the health information, the news, the analysis, the perspectives that are just not talked about. This kind of information, the power of your mind, and it's scientifically being backed up now. This should be front page news. This should be on CNN every single night. But no, it's not. Only small little independent radio stations like WBAI are able to bring it to you. We need your support right now. But most importantly, you need this information. You need all of the information that's included. And again, if you call up and pledge at the $250 level, you don't get 1 or 2 CDs, my dears. You get 6 CDs, and we throw in a free CD, another one, the very special event. This CD is not available anywhere else on the planet, but only when you call up here at WBAI. We throw in an extra CD of his live event that was held for Pacifica. That CD is not available anywhere else but right here. We throw that in for your contribution of $250, or if you put it on your credit card, you can do a payment plan, 516-620-3602. The number again, 516-620-3602. And when you're getting all of this information, really you're getting 7 CDs that you can rip onto an MP3 player or your smartphone. What the smart thing to do is to maybe go in with another person. Go in with your spouse, your roommate, your children. Go in with other people so you don't have to spend the whole $250 by yourself. But if you do, it's a tax-deductible contribution. And when you go in with somebody else, you can share the information. This is great for relationships with your parents, with your children, with yourself, with your loved ones. The number again is 516-620-3602. Do you want to know the secrets of the centenarians? Do you want to know the secrets of people who have lived over 100 years? Do you want to know about the myths of aging? Do you want to know about the ceilings of abundance? In other words, how you are stymieing yourself, how you're stopping yourself from bringing more into your life? Call right now, 516-620-3602. You can also pledge online at give2, WBAI.org. give2, WBAI.org. But please call right now. We need 25 people in the next few minutes, and I need to get you on the horn right now. 516-620-3602. Call now if you want to get the free CD. We'll tack that on to the mind-body code. If you want to learn about the 5 portals of wellness and how to understand the mind-body code, very important for you to understand these tools. All this great information can be locked in this box set, but if you don't access it, what good is it? If you don't apply it to your life, what good is it? You can talk all about it all you want until you actually, get the material. There's a section called the psychology of abundance, conquering the fear of success. We were talking, Dr. Martinez, too, about the mentality of lack of. Oh, there's no jobs. The economy's in a downturn. Layoffs are happening, and all of these things. It's kind of hard. I got to tell you. I'll tell you as a layperson, not a scientist, not a neuropsychologist, that the messages from the outside world is lack of, and there's not a lot of success or abundance out there for people. That's the messages that are being droned into people's head. But what I like about this is you talk about the fear of success. Can you just expand on that?
Sure. But I also would like to say something. As you mentioned, I came all the way from Uruguay on my own. I'm not getting paid for this, 6,000 miles. And I also know that it can be annoying when you're hearing someone trying to raise money for a radio station. But make a commitment to call in, because if you don't do it and you wait for someone else to do it, in a way you're receiving something without giving something back. And I think that actually it's very healthy to give back when you receive from people. But what I want to talk about as you're listening, if you can call, because it's so important. But one of the things that happens with our fear of abundance is our nervous system gets used to a certain amount of health, a certain amount of wealth, and a certain amount of love. When it goes beyond that, it's actually a turbulent moment. It's turbulence. It's something new. And when something new happens, you have to learn how to navigate that. If you don't, it becomes so aversive that you go back and sabotage yourself so you can return to the known misery rather than the potential for good things to happen in your life. And there are ways of learning how to do that. There are ways of learning how to do it. A very strong component of a recession is the fear of the recession. For example, in Uruguay, which is a small country, 3.5 million people, they don't believe that the recession is there, and it's not. It's the only country in South America that has not gone through the recession. It's a mindset. Now, you're going to lose a job and things like that, and that's real. But when that happens, I mean, I've lost jobs, and when it happens, you first, and this is going to sound really crazy, but try it and you'll see what will happen. You lose your job, you go somewhere or even at home and you celebrate whatever is going to happen for losing that job. Celebrate it.
Wow.
When you celebrate that, your consciousness shifts and your perception shifts into the possibility of what could happen when I leave this, as opposed to I lost this. And what you're going to find that most of the time when you're fired from a job that you didn't like anyway. So you thank the people that fired you. I mean, I did that once. I was working for a hospital, and they closed the hospital, or the unit, the psychiatric unit, 2 weeks before Christmas. So the first thing I did, I went out and I celebrated, but I didn't know what I was going to celebrate. And it was amazing the things that happened. It's a shift of consciousness that works.
Oh, thank you for that. That is absolutely wonderful. Folks, again, the Mind Body Code, it is the 6 CD set that's yours. Over 6 hours of content, how the mind wounds and heals the body. And if you call up this hour, we are going to give you a free add-on, the free add-on of something very important, the audio CD from the Dr. Martinez event. We have it. It's hot off the presses. We're going to add that to the 6 CD set for you calling right now. I want to get back to Dr. Mario Martinez, but you got to do your part. Because, again, like I said, all of this great information is really in a very easy to understand, enjoyable. I mean, his voice is so wonderful, and it's so gentle and kind and guiding, and it's sort of like having a gentle teacher hold your hand through a really rough terrain. I mean, we're talking about the psychology of forgiveness. We're talking about going into some pretty heavy places, some very dark places for some people. The secrets of centenarians, debunking the myths of aging. We are so programmed to think that, well, I'm about 60 years old, I'm about due for a high blood pressure, and I'm about due for a heart attack, probably about 65, 66. All of those markers, all of those myths, he debunks. He's going to guide you through that. Guardians of the heart, the intimate language of relationships. This is so critical because it's not just about your romantic relationships. It's about your relationships with coworkers, with your children, with your parents. And the most important relationship, the relationship you have with yourself. Also talks about, very important, how cultural beliefs affect the immune system. This is something that we want to get more into about the health aspect, but we need just a couple more people to give us a call. The lines, I told you, biofeedback, Dr. Martinez, the lines are lighting up. That is a great sign. That means that we are getting to people and they're calling up. If you can only pledge $25, that's okay. Because when you call up and pledge $25, we'll send you the audio CD from the Dr. Mario Martinez event. He's flown here 6,000 miles from Uruguay to be here with you. You will get this audio CD. There's stuff in that CD, too, that is not in the Mind Body Code, by the way. It's all the latest stuff, right?
Yes.
You talked about a lot of really cool stuff happening in the world of your neuropsychology world.
Yes, we're constantly developing new methods of making things much more practical and workable. But I'll give you some more examples of the power of the culture. We're the only animal that can plan a heart attack. Most heart attacks occur on Mondays, which tell you something about whether you love your work or not. So if you make it through Monday, then you're in good shape. And you ask people, what's your favorite day? Friday. What's your worst day? Sunday, because there's anticipatory anxiety for the job. Well, it doesn't have to be that way. It really doesn't have to be that way, because you're putting 1/3 of your life to work and probably another 1/8 to worrying about work. So what do you have? Sleep and then a little time with your family and with yourself. But one of the things that distracts us from getting what we want is that we're constantly doing something outside of ourselves. You go to a restaurant and there's a television set. You get home and there's television, there's texting. You don't have time with yourself to process the day. You don't have time with your family. One of the most powerful rituals that you can do to help immunity is breaking bread with family without watching television. If you watch television, your digestion is going to be affected because you have a sympathetic, parasympathetic kind of process going on that I'll talk about later if you want me to. But what you're doing is you're confusing the digestion. You're saying digestion, as soon as saliva touches the food, you go into what's called a parasympathetic, which means that everything slows down except the digestion. But if you're on the phone, then everything speeds up again, and then digestion slows down. So that's why executives, 75% of executives have gastrointestinal problems, because they're having lunch with their iPhones or their Blackberries rather than having lunch with other people or with their food and paying attention to the food. So those simple things that we take for granted, that we think that it's just we're being so technical and we're so successful because we have an iPhone and we have this and that. What you're doing is you're creating all kinds of problems. Technology is wonderful if you use it properly. If you don't, it'll work against you.
True that. True that, indeed. 516-620-3602. Folks, that's the number to call to get this incredible information, and I promise you it will change your life. I am serious. I am so serious about this because I have gone into this material. I go through it over and over again, and it has really, really helped me on so many different levels, health-wise, relationship-wise, just viewing the whole aging process, right? We limit ourselves in so many ways, and this is breakthrough material from a world-renowned neuropsychologist who has done the work, who has found out this information, and you don't need to book an appointment with him and fly to Uruguay. All you need to do is call this number. We have operators standing by, 516-620-3602. And here's what we've got. We've got the 6-CD set by itself, the Mind-Body Code, how the mind wounds and heals the body. Over 6 hours and 42 minutes. You can take those CDs and put them onto your laptop, burn them onto your MP3 player, put them on your smartphone, give them to your kids, to your family members. It's a $250 tax-deductible contribution to WBAI. And if you call, and you only have a few minutes left, but if you call this hour, we will also throw in for free the audio CD of a very special live event with Dr. Mario Martinez. I'm actually in it too. I introduce him. It was an incredible event. There is brand new material on that CD. It's not available anywhere else on this planet Earth, but it is available, and we tack it on for free if you call up and get the 6-CD set, the Mind-Body Code. So you're getting 7 CDs in all for your contribution. The number to call is 516-620-3602. And folks, remember, my earlier goal, I have a goal of 25 people this hour. We do have some calls coming in. I see the calls coming in. That's a great sign, but we need a lot more of you to call right now. 516-620-3602. And I'm asking for my angel out there. I'm looking for someone who can pledge at the $1,000 level, or, even the $5,000 level. I'm not going to limit myself by my beliefs of this economy is really rough and blah, 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 blah. No. As Dr. Mario Martinez was saying, so much power we give away. I'm not going to do that today. I'm not going to do that this hour. I'm looking for my $1,000 angel. Are you out there? Call us and pledge. 516-620-3602. I'm sorry. Let me say that again slowly, Christine. 516-620-3602. Please get this information. It is absolutely incredible. Like I said, I've applied many of the 6-CD set. There's so many different subject matters that he covers, and all very important to our lives, folks. I've applied so many of them to my own life, and it's really life-affirming. It's life-changing, and it is something that you find out how powerful you are, how powerful your thoughts are and your beliefs are, and you take back the responsibility. That's what I like about it. It's taking self-responsibility for your health, for your future. People say, well, these people that I work with, they're horrible, and those people don't like me, and this and that, and they're letting their outside world affect them to the point of, being stressed, high blood pressure, mental illness even can come from this. These are tools that people can use in their lives immediately. And it's, like I said, it's groundbreaking, but it's also the latest in science. This is not airy-fairy unicorns and, new age, stuff with the incense burning. This is cutting-edge science that Dr. Mario Martinez brilliantly brings to you. And because he's not like a geeky, nerdy kind of guy saying these big words that you don't understand. He's very soft and gentle teacher, guide with you through this journey. And it's an incredible journey. We want you to come along. Come on the train. We're going to get a few more phones lit up, and then we're going to get back into I really want to get into going more into the health and wealth aspect. We need now probably about 18 people to get my goal. That's doable. For $20.83 a month, if you use your credit card, you can get the Mind Body Code, and we're going to give you an extra CD. So it's not 6 CDs, it's 7. We're going to give you for free the audio CD of the Dr. Mario Martinez event, incredible event that's captured on audio. He covers things that are not in the 6 CD set. So again, you're getting 7 CDs for your pledge of $20.83 a month. And if all you can pledge is $25, then do that and get the audio CD by itself of this incredible event. We want to make it so that everyone can participate. Everyone can get some information. If you can pledge at the $25 level, again, you'll get the audio CD. If you can pledge at the $250 level, and we'll break down the payments for you, don't stress about, remember, I mean, the most important thing is not to stress about this.
Absolutely.
And it's to support a radio station that is so incredible. Dr. Martinez, you've traveled all around the world. You've been to a lot of places, visiting the centenarians and studying them and the stigmata cases on the air. How rare is this gem?
Well, I think it's extremely powerful because something is being given. And think about this. A station that is giving you something, taking a chance that you're going to give something back. It's a tremendous trust that is put on people. Number one, because you are actually doing something and you're not owned by anyone. You're not owned by a corporate or government, and you're putting out information, different types of information, free thinking, and information that is not controlled by anyone. But the most important thing is you're putting out that information, trusting that someone is going to help you maintain it going. That is the greatest. I think that is the greatest gift that any public radio can give. And this doesn't happen everywhere. This is not happening everywhere. Most countries don't have this.
And because there's such large corporate interests, that dominates what the dialogue is. And we are completely free of corporate interest. We have no commercials or underwriters, so we're able to, the programmers that you hear, that you love day in and day out, have a great deal of freedom. During the fund drives, I have an enormous amount of freedom, and I take that responsibility very seriously. That's why I try to bring to you things that I think are going to impact your life. You know, I kind of like the idea of something that is going to impact your life in so many different realms. Okay? Not just one thing, not just one little niche, but something that can impact your health, your longevity, your relationships, your relationship with yourself, the ability to forgive, all of those things. That's why this material is so important. That's why we're so happy to bring it to you. But you got to give us a call, support it. 516-620-3602. That is the number to call. You can also pledge online at give2, the number give2, wbai.org, 516-620-3602. Again, I am looking for my angel out there. If there's $1,000 angel, we would love to hear from you to support the work that Dr. Mario Martinez has done. He's a world-renowned neuropsychologist. I'm Christine Blosdale, visiting from Los Angeles, this wonderful radio station that I am so very proud to be a part of, WBAI 99.5 FM in the great, great city of New York. Thank you so very much for your pledges coming in. We do see them coming in. That is fantastic. But we need a lot of folks to call in. We only have a few minutes left in this hour, and I need to get as many of you on the phone as possible. You need to pick up the phone and get this material. You know, when you're listening to Dr. Martinez and you're listening to me ramble on about how it's improved my life, think about the areas in your life that need improvement. Are you someone who is not happy in your relationship? Are you someone who is really not happy in your job? Are you someone who is not happy with your body, with the way you look, with the way you feel? Are you someone who has a really rough relationship with your family, with your loved ones? Every single person that I'm talking to, one of those areas is something that's important to you. If you think it's worth your donation to this incredible radio station, for a little bit of money, you will have so many wonderful answers, so many different tools that you can use. And it is absolutely being proven scientifically how powerful our minds are. The number to call, 516-620-3602. For a $250 pledge, you get the 6 CD set. But wait There's more. We will throw in, and absolutely for free, we'll throw in another CD. This is a special event that Dr. Martinez came to. I do the introduction to him. It was an incredible event. And that CD you cannot find anywhere else but here right now at WBAI. We throw that in, so you're getting 7 CDs in all for a $250 contribution. 516-620-3602. 516-620-3602. And I want to thank really quickly for calling up and pledging Simone Twombly from Westchester, PA. Thank you so very much. They called up and got the mind-body code. Marlon Morales from Union City, New Jersey called up. Thank you so much, Marlon. Picked up the mind-body code 6 CD set and got the extra free CD. Yvonne Bowers from Newark, New Jersey. Thank you so very much. Also, Cody Benu from Brooklyn, New York. Thank you so very much for your contribution. Also picking up the mind-body code. Won't you join these fine people? We have an anonymous caller from Denville, New Jersey, who also picked up the mind-body code. And Kwesi Kamara from Brooklyn, thank you so very much for your contribution to WBAI, and you're getting some incredible material. You will not be sorry. 5102. Again, if you can contribute just at the $25 level, we'd love your donation. An audio CD of the Dr. Martinez event, we'll send that to you for a $25 pledge. If you can pledge at the $250 level, you'll get the 6 CD set plus the extra CD from the event for free. We'll throw that in. It's 7 CDs, it's well over 7 hours of material for $20.83 a month. And it's a tax-deductible contribution because we're non-profit radio. Okay, our budget has been slashed. We are in a situation, that's why your contribution is so needed. But that's how hard it is for us to maintain this radio station. The expenses are tremendous. You think your electric bill is high? Check out ours. You'll have, don't look, because you could hurt yourself. We'll give you a free goodie, a free add-on if you call up and get the mind-body code. And again, okay, back to the important stuff.
Okay, as you're calling, and I really hope that you call and make a commitment, I'll give you more information about how this is so different. What is unique about biocognition is that we don't try to change behavior, we try to change consciousness. And here's an example. This is why it's so difficult to give up addictions and to give up obsessions and compulsions. Let's say that you have your consciousness is a consciousness of avoidance and a consciousness of self-punishment or auto-sabotage. Then what you have is little wheels around that consciousness, and one says, I'm going to abuse myself with alcohol, I'm going to abuse myself with food, I'm going to abuse people. And what happens if you try to change your behavior? Well, you'll stop eating, but you'll start drinking. You'll stop drinking, and you'll start smoking because you're not getting to the consciousness. And the consciousness is what then changes all the behaviors around those little wheels around that big wheel. When you change the consciousness, there's a shift of consciousness, then you give up the abuse of food and the abuse of people and the abuse of drugs. And it's not that easy. It requires help and it requires professional intervention. But most work is based on changing behavior. Biocognition is based on changing consciousness. And we give you specific ways to do it, specific ways of changing the way you perceive the world rather than the behaviors you're using to avoid the world. And that's where most of the other things that are tried fail, because they're looking at the symptom rather than the cause, looking at the effect rather than the cause.
And we had talked to about one of my favorite parts of the 6 CD set on the psychology of forgiveness, and we had talked a little bit before the show about the alarming amount of abuse in this country, all over the world, but in the United States, physical abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse, but I would say the number one, sexual abuse, that has been perpetrated upon our children of the world, but in particular this country. Can you talk, I know it's a very vast subject and it's a very deep, and it's something probably in your practice you have dealt with many times, but can you talk about that? Because I know a lot of our listeners who are listening right now have suffered that, and it's a wound that for many it's with them forever, for the rest of their lives. And they might have the propensity to perpetrate that on another person, or not, hopefully. But can you talk about that? Because I think this is so important for people.
It is important, and it's epidemic. You think about people that go to war, and they lose friends, and they have an explosion next to them, and they develop what's called post-traumatic stress disorder. Well, it's very interesting that people who have been sexually, emotionally, and physically abused also develop post-traumatic stress disorder, because something out of order, when your brain is not able to adjust to what's going on emotionally, psychologically, and what happens is the brain will compress that to deal with it later. And what happens is you never deal with it later because you put it off and you put it off, and then it comes out as an anxiety attack or a panic attack. And people who have panic attacks, you know how terrible that is. You think you're dying, and it's a terrible, terrible situation. The good news is that post-traumatic stress disorder has a tremendously good prognosis if it's done properly. It can be treated. It can be treated, and it doesn't need to be treated with medication. Medication will not cure post-traumatic stress disorder. Sometimes you might need medication to help you with the therapy, but it does not cure it. Post-traumatic stress disorder needs to be dealt with therapy, and it needs to be dealt with in a way that the person understands that the prognosis is really excellent if they're willing to make the changes.
I'm interrupting Dr. Mario Martinez, world-renowned neuropsychologist, to give out the phone number so that you get this information. Folks, it is a 6-CD set, The Mind-Body Code, How the Mind Wounds and Heals the Body. It is yours for a $250 contribution. There is so much information, over 6 hours and 42 minutes. Plus, if you call up and get that 6-CD set, we're going to throw in for free a live event that Dr. Mario Martinez was in. I also was there. It's an incredible CD. You cannot get this anywhere else. It is, I believe, about 2 hours in content, 2.5 hours in content. That CD we throw in for free, so you're getting 7 CDs. The number to call is 516-620-3602. We need all hands on deck right now. WBAI is such an important radio station that we want to keep on the air. Keep those calls coming in. It's a tax-deductible contribution, something that is actually going to really help your life. 516-620-3602. 516-620-3602. 7 CDs in all if you call up and get the Mind-Body Code. Call that number and ask the phone answers to get you the Mind-Body Code, 6 CD set, plus the free CD, 516-620-3602. But right now we're focusing in on the Mind-Body Code, the 6 CD set, How the Mind Wounds and Heals the Body, from Dr. Mario Martinez. And if you call this out, and actually you only have minutes left to take advantage of a free add-on. We're going to throw in, just for you calling up and getting the Mind-Body Code, we're going to throw in the audio CD. Dr. Mario Martinez, he's flown himself all the way from Uruguay, 6,000 miles. That's a long way to travel to support this little gem, this radio station that the people don't even know that we exist. That's why if you can't pledge your support, if you can't afford a financial contribution, please tell 10 people. There's a campaign for you. Tell 10 people. Tell them about the amazing stuff that you hear. That will help a lot. But the thing that we're focusing in on today, again, is material that was going to help you in so many different ways. The audio CD, we're going to throw that in, again, for a pledge of $20.83 a month. You get the 6 CD set, which covers so much stuff. The 5 portals of wellness, a psychology of abundance, how to conquer your fear of success. Yes, people go, oh, I don't have a fear of success. I want to have a lot of money. No, not necessarily. Also, the secrets of centenarians, debunking the myths of aging, very, very important. Why die earlier than you have to? Why? Because you bought into the belief systems of your family, of your culture. You actually bought into the fact of those commercials with all the young, sexy people. You don't see any old people. We put people that are elderly in retirement homes. We don't visit them. We don't talk to them. We don't think that they're worth anything. They are worth so much. You also find out about the intimate language of relationships and how cultural beliefs affect the immune system and the psychology of forgiveness. All of this is in the 6 CD set. Dr. Martinez, we're talking about the lack thereof. Important things for people during this trying time. Health, wealth.
And love.
And love.
Yeah.
Can you just touch on those? Just give our listeners a couple little tips on those three major. That's a big order, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. This is good.
Okay, but you have time.
Sure, no, this is good, and I'd love to do that because I want to give some substance, not just talk about theory. Before you get to the goal that you have of better love, better health, greater wealth, you have to look at the component of self-esteem. You have to look at whether you feel worthy of those things. And intellectually, you're going to say, oh, yes, I feel worthy. But it's a lot more than that. You have to look at the people that told you that you couldn't do things in your life. And there are techniques that we teach at deep levels of relaxation so that the nervous system doesn't interfere with it. There are people that told you that you're never going to make it, or you're not going to find love in your life because your father or your mother or whatever didn't find it. Those are the admonitions that you learn, and that's how you live. Let me give you a simple example. You want to check out self-esteem. You make a commitment to yourself that next weekend you're going to dress up as if you're going out with somebody that you're extremely excited with, and you take yourself out to dinner. And when the waitress or the waiter says, only one, because they do say that. See, the culture works against the individual. Only one? Yes. How many do you want? Me. I'm here. And take yourself out to dinner. I used to do that. I would do it once a month, and I would go to the same restaurant, and the waitress would look at me and decide, this guy's really weird. He must be very lonely. You see, you put these kind of admonitions and labels on things that you do for yourself. Try that and see what happens, and you're going to feel uncomfortable. You're going to feel, in a way, you're going to feel, I'll do it for somebody else. Or cook a great meal for yourself, especially if you live alone. And you're going to say, oh, I don't cook for myself. Well, are you worth it? And if you're not worth it, who's going to think you're worth it? Those are little things that you can learn, and none of this takes a lot of complicated work. What I've done is I've taken complex psychoneurological work and anthropological work and put it into simple ways of being able to practice it. Let me give an example of how the immune system responds to culture. Your culture will tell you how you are going to be shamed. So your culture will tell you you're going to be shamed based on whether you were able to make it with the football team or whether you did well in school. And some parents are going to shame you. Well, that's shaming. What it does is you begin to secrete. That was a pause there to drink water. You begin to secrete some molecules, interleukins, that actually those molecules are needed when you have an infection or when you have a cut. And what they do is they cause inflammation needed for a cut or needed for an infection to repair tissue and so forth. But when you are shamed, you secrete those same molecules as if it were an actual wound. And one of the things that we have found is that actually one of my mentor, George Solomon, found was that women with rheumatoid arthritis have a strong connection with a shaming wound, which now we know, in those days, in the 60s, it wasn't known, but now we know that actually shaming causes inflammation. But what we're doing now, the research that we're doing clinically, and we're beginning to design some studies, is that the antidote to shame is dignity and honor. And dignity and honor can actually function as an anti-inflammatory.
Wow. Instead of the little pill that has effects on your, different parts of your organs and things like that. Yes. And it actually takes care of the problem, the root problem.
The root problem. And people who live in shame learn the language. They learn shame fluently, and they speak shame. They either shame others or they set themselves up to be shamed. And what are they doing? They're living a life that is not really very healthy psychoneurologically, because they're constantly secreting what's called pro-inflammatory products that are not necessary. They don't have any physical wounds, but they're creating what I call biosymbolic wounds, which is just the same because the body's responding, whether it's an actual cut or whether it's a symbol, a word. A symbol can change your biology.
If you're just joining us, joining me in studio is Dr. Mario Martinez, a licensed clinical neuropsychologist who specializes in the emerging fields of contemplative psychology and psychoneuroimmunology, a.k.a. what you think and believe affect your immune system, right?
Yes.
Was that it?
Yes.
Was that a scientific?
And your nervous system and your endocrine system.
And everything. 516-620-3602. That is the number to call to get a hold of this incredible information from Dr. Mario Martinez. Call up that number and ask for the Mind Body Code 6 CD set. And we're going to throw in a free CD. So you're getting 7 CDs in all for a contribution of $250. You can put it on your credit card, your Visa, your American Express, your MasterCard. 516-620-3602. Folks, I have like 6 minutes left to go. I need 10 people in 6 minutes. Won't you be one of those 10 people to get this information, to change your life? You're tired of being tired. You're tired of the same old. You're tired of being in a bad relationship. You're tired of not feeling well. You're tired of being in a bad job. Take the moment. Take the responsibility right now, and also take the moment to support this great radio station. Call us now, 516-620-3602, 516-620-3602. Get the Mind Body Code 6 CD set. We give you a free CD as well from a very special event. You cannot find this material anywhere else, folks. Only right here, right now, by calling 516-620-3602. This is life. You know, we get hit with things, and it's how we respond that is so very important. Instead of being reactionary to things, are you someone who thinks that you're ugly, you're lonely, you're fat, nobody would love you? Are you somebody who thinks, well, I'm 45, so I am in my midlife, and I better just look around for somebody who's about the same age as me, and oh gosh, I don't know. Are you someone who has limiting beliefs about your health? Are you someone who have limiting beliefs about your career? That's a huge one for people. Are you locked into a job that you hate? Yes, yes, yes. I know. I can see everybody in the car going, yes. Well, these are tools for you. It's very simple. But it doesn't do any good if it's sitting in a box, right? It doesn't do any good if it's sitting here at the station. We want to get it to you, and we would love to send this information to you. It's from our heart. Only a few minutes left, and I need at least 10 people to call right now. 10 of you to get this 6 CD set. Oh, nope, that's right, 7 CDs now. We're going to throw in an extra one for absolutely free for you calling up and contributing. There's caller number 1. We need 9 more of you. There's caller number 2. We need 8 more of you. 8 more of you is what we need to make our goal. 8 more of you. You know what? I don't even look at it that way. I'm not going to look at it that way. I'm looking at it that 8 more of you, I would like to have 8 more of you have this information to change your relationships. If you're in a lousy relationship, if you're in a lousy job that makes you feel less than, if you're in lousy health, if you're just feeling lousy, I want 8 more of you to feel good about your life. And not just to feel good about, but I mean really make it happen. There's 2 more people calling. Yay, we need 6 more people calling us, doctor. What can you do?
Well, I want to talk to people now who feel they're too old. And
I like this one.
And they feel that their life is over. Yep. I'll give you a bit of news. The research is showing, neuropsychological research, when they work with a healthy brain, that you're the most creative from 65 to 85. There's also research that shows that if you're over 70 and you go back to college, you're going to be doing better than people in their 20s. Also, there's some news of this man who won the 300 and the 500 meter race within his age. Actually, they were all younger than him because this man was 101 year old. This happened about 3 weeks ago.
101 and he was in a race?
And he won the 300 and 500 meter. So if you think you're old, think again and think that what you're doing is you're being compressed and contained by the cultural admonitions that you learned all of your life. You need to break away from that, and you need to begin to look at yourself in a way that's completely different and liberating for yourself, and then have access to the information that you need in order to make the changes. You don't try to do it on your own, but get the help and get the type of information that you need in order to be able to do it. So you have no excuses anymore. So people that thought they were too old, call in.
Yes. because we know you have the strength to call in because you're super duper when you're 65 or older. We needed 6, but now we need 5 more people in the last few minutes. One of the most important parts about this 6 CD set is the work that he has done. He has studied centenarians. These aren't unicorns. These are people that have lived to be 100 years or older. 516-620-3602. Folks, we just have seconds left in this hour. I need to get 5 of you on the phones right now. The number to call again is 516-620-3602. We can do this. We can make our goal. Help me out. Please, 516-620-3602. In these last remaining seconds, I want to give some big thanks out to some wonderful people. I want to thank James Morgan from New York, who called up and got the Mind Body Code 6 CD set. He called 516-620-3602. There's also an anonymous caller from Newark, New Jersey, who picked up the pack. Also, Grace Hewitt from Dover, New Jersey. Thank you so very much. Polly Timi Divac from Douglaston, New York. Thank you so very much. I also want to thank Pamela from Santo Domingo. Thank you so very much. Keep those calls coming in. We have just seconds left in this hour, and I want as many of you to get this information as possible. If I sound excited, I know it's a little ridiculous, right? It's because this is really fantastic information. Science is finally coming around, and it's showing us that our mind can not only wound but heal our body and do amazing things in our lives, and this is so exciting to me, and I want to share this with you. The number to call to get the 6 CD set, plus we give you the free add-on, the Mind Body Code 6 CD set. You get a free CD as well, is 516-620-3602. Guess what, folks? I have 20 seconds left to get maybe 3 more of you on these phones. We have phone answers waiting for your calls. We have just like 20 seconds left. 516-620-3602. 516-620-3602. I want to thank Michael T. Haskins so much for your wonderful help this hour. I'm Christine Blasdale. Stay tuned for more Fun Drive programming coming your way right here on WBAI 99.5 FM.
Hi, this is Jerry Stiller. You are listening to WBAI New York 99.5 FM and WBAI.org on the web. Where are my keys? Anybody see my keys? Who took my keys?
WBAI New York, 99.5 FM and WBAI.org on the web.
This conjunction of an immense military establishment and a large arms industry is new in the American experience. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes.
Eisenhower's prophecy, unfortunately, became true.
The rush of battle. The glory of victory. The birth of heroes. These are the movies that brought the front lines to the front row. Every Saturday night, the Military Channel brings you the films that went beyond the battlefield and showed you more like...
Fed by a culture of war, which has even created its own television channel called the Military Channel.
On the Military Channel.
The arms industry is enjoying one of the most productive and rewarding times thanks to the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. In the meantime, the Pentagon's budget has risen to over $400 billion per year. That's more than 4 times the amount that the neoconservatives ever dared to dream in the year 2000. To maintain the Bush administration war doctrine, massive increases in military spending have been required. The United States now spends more than $400 billion annually on the military, 7 times as much as the next biggest spender, and nearly equal to what the rest of the world spends combined.
That, my friends, was a clip from a documentary called The New American Century. It's part of the Great Lies in History 5 DVD set. It's an incredible set, and it's put together by my guest this hour. I'm so happy to have joining me back. Oh, by the way, I'm Christine Blasdale, in case you don't know. I'm welcoming in studio Massimo Mazzucco, filmmaker extraordinaire, Italian Renaissance man, as he is, and he is the gentleman behind The Great Lies in History 5 DVD set that we're going to be offering you this hour during this fund drive. Hello, Massimo.
Hello, Christina. Hello, everybody. Nice to be back here.
I am very, very happy to have you back here because it just seems like, especially the information in the New American Century, it is more and more, how do we say?
Coming up to date. And
yes.
Yeah. People go, oh. And then you look at the date of the film, and it's 2007.
Yeah.
And when I was making it, I remember people telling me, one day people will look at this and say, you knew. We know.
Well, and in that clip, it was talking about the fact that, what was it, that was over $400 billion under Bush for the military.
Well, yeah.
And in 2010, Obama's military budget was $663 billion. 2011 was $687 billion. And 2012, $646 billion. So we're not scaling down a whole lot, are we?
Well, that tells you how much power does the president have today in respect vis-a-vis to the military power. I'm sure that Obama got his electability permission because he accepted to go along with the politics that were already put in place by the Pentagon before he came to the White House. I think that had to be the condition.
I want to have you explain some of the items in the 5 DVD set. It's called The Great Lies in History Pack. 5 DVDs. We have The New American Century, a classic that everyone should have. Cancer, The Forbidden Cures, UFOs and the Military Elite, The Second Dallas, Who Killed RFK, and The True History of Marijuana. Seems like an odd mixture of things, but they kind of kind of connected, aren't they?
At the end of the day, you find yourself with one single picture, and it's the single picture of this elite of people in power who have been controlling basically what has been happening in the Western world in the last 100 years, both in the world of medicine with the cancer industry, which is very, very enlightening to find out how we came to the situation we are in today, and in the military industry. And you realize, Donald Rumsfeld, at the same time he was selling weapons to Iraq, and he is one of the biggest shareholders in one of the largest pharmaceutical companies. It's all one big elite, which is coming to be identified now, I think. After the 99% movement started, this identification has started. And films like mine, seen all together, give it the impression at the end of the day that there is one enemy, really, or one counterpart, so to speak, and it's not as strong as it could be seen once you start to identify it. It strengthens you, empowers you to know exactly what you're up against.
And that's why I wanted to bring this to our listeners, because for those who have never heard about the Great Lies in History Pack, it is a wake-up call on so many different issues, and it's so true that once you know you've been lied to, it's kind of tough for you to, it's kind of tough to be lied over and over again, although, Americans, we sure are suckers for it.
Unless you're Bush and fool me once, fool me twice, he never figures that out.
Yeah, we couldn't get that right. The 5 DVDs that are in the Great Lies in History Pack, folks, they each, if you wanted to get them individually, you can, for a pledge of $100 a piece. But we have them together in this 5 DVD set for a pledge of $250 or $20.83 a month. We're going to play a couple clips from some of the features, some of the DVDs in this pack, but it is a really great deal because when you think about it, if you pledge for all 5 of those at $100, you'd have to pledge $500. We're going to get these to you for $250. We can talk all we want about these DVDs. We can tell you how great they are. I can tell you how important it is to my understanding of the world, but I think if we need to play a clip, because for those of you who are still scratching your head saying, well, you know, the government wouldn't lie to me. The government would never lie and go to a war unprovoked. Well, let's listen now to a clip from the New American Century. Again, this is must-see viewing for our for citizens, and this is part of the 5 DVD set. It's available by itself for a $100 pledge, or in the 5 DVD set for a $250 pledge. This is the history, or just a small portion of the history of false flag operations that have happened in our history, and the many, many lies that have been told for the government to get their war on.
In 1898, the United States went to war against Spain in order to take control of the Caribbean area. The pretext came from the sinking of the USS Maine, which was anchored near the Cuban island. The Spanish were immediately accused of the attack, even though they sternly denied any involvement in it. The images of the sunken vessel and those of the sailors' funerals were shown in the first movie theaters of the nation, thus generating a strong wave of indignation that allowed Theodore Roosevelt, then Secretary of the Navy, to start a war he had already prepared to the smallest detail. Only in 1980, almost a century later, would America recognize that the Spanish were not responsible for the attack. In 1941, it was the infamous Pearl Harbor attack to generate a wave of indignation large enough for President Roosevelt to declare war on Japan.
The facts of yesterday and today speak for themselves. With confidence in our armed forces, with the unbounding determination of our people, we will gain the inevitable triumph, so help us God.
Almost 3,000 sailors died in the surprise attack. History would later reveal that the administration knew of the attack in advance, but it did everything possible to delay the transfer of information to the Hawaiian port. This was confirmed by Admiral Kimmel, the port's commander who helplessly witnessed the massacre of his crews and the destruction of his vessels.
We needed one thing, which our own resources could not make available to us. That vital need was the information available in Washington from the intercepted dispatches, which told when and where Japan would probably strike. I did not get this information.
In 1964, the United States decided to officially declare war on North Vietnam. The war pretext came from the so-called Tonkin Gulf incident, in which North Vietnamese boats were accused of having launched torpedoes against the American destroyer Maddox. Then Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara immediately announced to the press the upcoming military action.
Immediately following the attack, U.S. representatives in Saigon met with representatives of the South Vietnamese government. They jointly agreed that joint retaliatory action was required. The President's approval of this action.
But McNamara, 40 years later, would openly confess that the attack on the Maddox never took place.
No, it was just confusion. And events afterwards showed that our judgment that we'd been attacked that day was wrong. It didn't happen.
In the meantime, more than 60,000 U.S. soldiers and over 3 million Vietnamese civilians lost their lives. In 1990, the situation between the United States and Iraq had grown tense, and the group of conservatives around President Bush convinced him it was time to attack Saddam Hussein. The U.S. secretly informed Saddam that they had nothing against him taking over the oil fields of Kuwait, a territory the Iraqi dictator had always claimed as his own. Saddam took the bait and Iraq invaded Kuwait.
Tonight, the first pictures of the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait.
At that point, Dick Cheney, who was then Secretary of Defense, gave Saudi Arabia some satellite photos in which 250,000 Iraqi soldiers could be seen amassing behind the Kuwaiti border. Fearing an invasion, the Saudis granted the U.S. the extraordinary permission to establish military bases on the territory. At the same time, the worldwide media launched a heavy campaign against Saddam, who was accused of having used lethal gas against his own people. No mention was made to the fact that the gas had been sold to Saddam by the United States, which then stood silent during the massacre, even though they were perfectly aware of it. The media campaign against the Iraqi dictator reached its peak with this touching testimony from a young Kuwaiti nurse who described to the world the atrocities committed by the Iraqi soldiers in her invaded country.
While I was there, I saw the Iraqi soldiers come into the hospital with guns. They took the babies out of the incubators. Took the incubators and left the children to die on the cold floor.
The news shocked the entire world, and from that moment no one had a word to say about the American bombing of Iraq. Ten years later, some journalists stumbled onto a set of satellite photographs taken by the Russians over the same desert in the same days.
It's what it didn't show that was more important. What you would have expected to have seen were tanks on the border. There were none that could be seen. There was nothing behind the border that could have supported that kind of number of troops and tanks.
The same pictures that showed the Iraqi tanks in Kuwait City also showed that there was absolutely nothing behind the Saudi border. Not a tank, not a vehicle, not a single man. At the same time, the nurse who had brought to tears the entire world turned out to be the daughter of the Kuwaiti ambassador in Washington. She had faked the entire incubator story after having been professionally trained by one of the most important advertising agencies in Washington, Hill and Knowlton.
Oh, no, they won't lie to go to war. That woman, that young lady, lied. Not only did she lie about what the Iraqi soldiers had done, but she had lied to the point where the entire nation was swept up in indignation, and they went and went after Saddam. That was the first time. That was Daddy Bush. And we spent how much money on that? And we killed how many people? What? This is just part of the new American century, which is just part of the Great Lies in History pack. Again, we haven't even scratched the surface of how many lies have been perpetrated for this these criminals, really, or insane madmen to have wars. We haven't even talked about Operation Northwoods, how they wanted to go to war with Cuba and how they were willing to risk, they were actually willing to kill American citizens. Yeah, had not a problem about it, did they?
It's there in black and white. There's a CIA plan from 1962 saying that one of the options to declare to go to war with Cuba would be to cause a fake downing of an American airplane and then accuse the Cubans, and we would definitely, kill American lives, but that would be worth because then we have an excuse to go to war. I mean, it's part of their philosophy. When we say, I had this reaction first. When I was first faced with the possibility that 9/11 had been an inside job, my first honest reaction was, oh no, Americans would never do that to themselves. I mean, this is natural. Everybody thinks of that. But then again, I mean, it's true. Americans would not do that to themselves. But these people are not just Americans. They are very, very, very special kind of Americans. They think in different terms, and they think of Americans as collateral damage, disposable for their, to their long-term means. They don't really care about that. So it's a totally different mentality. Once you understand that mentality, and this is why I'm saying all the 5 films, in a way, tie in together, because it's different stories. One is the assassination of Robert Kennedy. One is the UFO, the story of how the military have been hiding the information on UFOs for 50 years. But at the end of the day, you see like the mechanics of the lies and the mechanics of the manipulation of the media, and it's always the same. So once you learn to recognize that, you will learn that you're vaccinated against lies for the rest of your life. And that's I think is what is the real purpose. Once you understand to recognize the lie, no matter where the next lie will come on a different field, because you already know that those are the mechanics, and you will be prepared to not to be deceived.
Exactly, and that's what the importance of this 5-disc set, the Great Lies in History Pack, which we are offering to you for a pledge of just $20.83 a month. Now you can get the New American Century by itself. It's available for a $100 pledge or $8.33 a month, but you get 5 DVDs altogether, getting them for just $250 or $20.83 a month. You heard in that clip too, McNamara saying, well, our judgment was just wrong. As far as that whole lie, it didn't happen. You tell that to the 60,000 U.S. soldiers who died. You tell that to the million of Vietnamese people who died. You tell that to the soldier who today is on the streets, homeless from Vietnam, destroyed, utterly destroyed, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually destroyed, that you got that wrong. You spent how much money? You killed how many people for a lie? Well, and it repeats constantly.
Yeah, the Constitution, the American Constitution, does not allow the president to go to war. We cannot go to war preemptively. We have to be attacked first. That's what the Constitution says. So you have to create an incident every time you need to go to a war. It's as simple as that.
We need to get 20 people picking up the pack this hour in order for me to make my goal, or a whole lot of people picking up one of the DVDs by themselves. The number to call is 516-620-3602. 516-620-3602. We're offering to you, the WBAI listener, an incredible pack. It's called The Great Lies in History. It's a 5 DVD set, but you get to make copies of these documentaries, of these DVDs. So it's like having not just 5 DVDs, it's like 500, 5,000 of them if you want. You can burn them freely and hand them out. The number to call is 516-620-3602. It's yours for a contribution of $250. It's a tax-deductible contribution. So many DVDs. You can also get them individually if you wanted. The New American Century, Cancer, the Forbidden Cures, The Second Dallas, The True History of Marijuana, UFOs and the Military Elite. If you got each and every one of these DVDs individually, it would be a $500 contribution, but we give all 5 of them to you for a $250 donation to WBAI. 516-620-3602. That number again, 516-620-3602. And you know what? This is a great way to vaccinate yourself from the lies yet to come. Yes, the government lies to the people. And for those of you who think they don't, I've got a 5 DVD set for you. 516-620-3602. You heard in that those clips too before. That was from the 5 DVD set, The Great Lies in History, talking about McNamara 40 years later saying, you know what? Well, our judgment, it was wrong. It just didn't happen. I'm sorry, but that makes me crazy. 60,000 U.S. soldiers killed. How many hundreds of thousands injured, mentally, physically, emotionally, right? 3 million Vietnamese dead. Let me say that again. 3 million people dead for something that McNamara, 40 years later, who's alive sipping a cocktail, said just didn't happen. Where have we heard that story before? Oh, that's right. Remember when we were told there was a mushroom cloud about to happen? Remember we heard quantities of white something from Niger and all of these things about weapons of mass destruction that some dictator had, who we actually helped keep in power, by the way. It's on repeat. It's Groundhog Day, not Gopher Day. It's the Groundhog Day scenario. Governments lie. It's one thing if a small government lies to a small amount of people, but this government constantly lies. And the impact of those lies don't just affect the people in the United States, it affects the world. We see that happening right now as drones are going everywhere. as indefinite detention is sanctified, as our civil liberties have been thrown out the door. The number to call to get this information, to vaccinate yourself from the lies that are yet to come, because you know they're coming, it's 516-620-3602. 516-620-3602. I don't want you to get mad when you see this content. I want you to become awakened, and I want you to share this. That's why the filmmaker's saying you can make copies of it. Get this information out, all right? The number to call again is 516-620-3602. Massimo, I want to have you tell people what is in the 5 DVD set. This, again, folks, 5 incredible films that are your... Oh, by the way, can people make copies of these?
Absolutely. It says at the end of every DVD, free copy and free distribution. So you're encouraged to make copies and to distribute them to everybody you know around yourself.
That's perfect, because sitting on knowledge like this doesn't help anybody. We want you to share this with as many people as possible. So again, Massimo is going to go through what all 5 DVDs are on here. Go ahead. What's in this 5 DVD set?
We're talking enough about the New American Century. Basically, what it is the history of the neocons, the group that is believed to have been behind 9/11, and it shows all the historical, the political, the ideological reasons for which it makes sense that they were the ones that needed to go to war and actually did go to war and gained from it. I mean, if you get to the final chapter of the New American Century, you will see how your own money, our own money, has been spent through contracts that the Vice President Dick Cheney awarded to the former Vice President's company, Halliburton. So basically, this guy leaves Halliburton, comes into the White House, declares war to Afghanistan and Iraq, and then awards the contracts for rebuilding Iraq to Halliburton, his own former company. I mean, it's not even a revolving door. It's a revolving scandal in a way. I mean, because it's our money after all, and it's their lives after all. Anyway, that is basically the New American Century. Cancer: The Forbidden Cures is, unfortunately, I believe, a very important film because it shows not only how many cures based on cures for cancer based on natural products there have been in the last 100 years, and how they've all been suppressed, ignored, or distorted, or denied, simply because there is no money to be made out of them. As you know, the law says you cannot patent a natural product, then obviously nobody is interested in patenting, for example, sodium bicarbonate, making a drug based on sodium bicarbonate, which nobody can patent. So every time a cure has emerged that seemed to work and had proved to work, it has been suppressed, it has been denied, and the people who brought it forth have been ostracized. And now I've only collected and presented in the film the natural cures that are allegedly working, which have enough support and material support that makes you believe that they work, because there are so many more that it makes you wonder why, and you come to the conclusion, obviously, that the last thing that the medical industry wants to do is actually find a cure for cancer. And so this is really an eye-opener. It was for me, because when I make these films, I also learn what I put in there. It's not that I'm born with knowing all of this. I just make research, and I try to piece it together, and whatever are my conclusions, I put them out on a DVD. It was an eye-opener for me to understand how we got to the situation today with the medical industry. So I think the historical part in that film is also very important, because it shows like in 100 years, step by step, what happened and how did the medical industry take over. First, they took over the teaching at the university, then they took over the production of the chemical drugs, then they put out of business the natural doctors, and then basically they took over now all the experimentation process and the scientific publication. So basically they control the whole thing right now. They produce the medicine, they do their own testing, and then they write the publication. So who's going to know what is real and what is not in there? There's no way for us to know anymore. But anyway, the other film that I find interesting of late is the true history of marijuana, because that also shows, for example, how the drug aspect of marijuana is really not that important after all. It was just an excuse to get the cannabis plant out of business because of the industrial problems it created. So it was mostly the industry, the new industry that was being born in the 1930s, the textile synthetic industry, the petroleum industry, and again the medicine industry. They decided that they needed to get rid of cannabis because it was an incredible competitor in terms of industrial capacities. So they figured out that by going after the drug aspect and making it the diabolical drug that they made it into, they could get rid of the whole plant, which they did. The reason why the growing of cannabis today in the world is forbidden is the result of that war on the cannabis plant. It was not the war on the drug; it was a war on the plant. Then you go to a film like UFO and the Military Elite, and it seems like you're going to suddenly be talking about the little green man. The only little green man you will see in my film are the generals, really. It does not talk about aliens. It talks about humans and how the Pentagon has been controlling and suppressing all the information willingly and openly at some point for the last 50 years on UFOs. So then you can draw your own conclusions on what the reality may be. It doesn't tell you that aliens exist, but it shows how far they went to suppress this information. So one wonders why would they do that if they really didn't exist after all. Then the other one is the second Dallas, which is on the RFK assassination. I mean, absolutely, and it really shows how the support of the people is important because this kind of information you would not get somewhere else. And I really, really think it's important to give stations like yours all the support that you can because it's our only guarantee to information to that we know we get the other side of the story. Otherwise, if we kill things like this, then really there is nothing else you can look into for that.
It's the only place that you can question any of this, and it's even difficult. It's even difficult here to question it. And in particular, this is just relating a little bit back to the RFK and John F. Kennedy. This is from Russ Baker. Is the government holding back crucial documents? Next year will be half a century since the death of JFK, and the Obama administration thinks we need to keep secret the records on the matter a little bit longer. Believe it or not, more than 50,000 pages of JFK assassination-related documents are being withheld in full. And an untold number of documents have been partially withheld or released with everything interesting blacked out. So this is coming from the administration that said we're going to give you more transparency to the things that the people want.
Yeah, except for the matters for the things that matter.
Except for the assassination of a president. Oh, don't even get me started on that. Again, more digging that needs to be done on that realm. But again, it's being classified from President Obama. The number to call, folks, if you want to get a hold of these 5 DVDs, you can get any one of them individually. So if you wanted to get the New American Century by itself, it's a $100 pledge. If you wanted to get Cancer, The Forbidden Cures by itself, it's a $100 pledge. The Second Dallas, Who Killed RFK? It's a fantastic documentary. It's just, after you watch this, there is just no question that something very strange happened. And there was, I think, new witnesses who had came forward just recently about for Sirhan, right?
Yes, absolutely. What is already shown in the film is now coming to the level of mainstream media because this kind of information cannot be held back for much longer, apparently. And Sirhan is requesting a new trial because of this new information, clearly showing that there was a second killer. By the way, and I don't mean this to be a teaser, but you walk away from my film and you'll actually walk away knowing who and how really killed Robert Kennedy. You know the name of the person, the face of the person, and how he did it. Because it could have been very obvious to everybody if they just wanted to look into it. Of course, the point is that they did not want to look into it.
And there's so much on that DVD. There's just so much information. The whole thing about the photographer who took pictures, and then only the pictures, the pictures before the shooting and after the shooting, they all were given back to him from LAPD.
Yeah,
but the ones when the shots were fired, those were missing.
36 shot roll, and he had the first 10 was when Kennedy was speaking outside. Then he was following Kennedy into the pantry, and he shot the actual sequence of the shooting, and then he shot the aftermath. And his camera was confiscated immediately by the police right after. And when they returned the pictures to him, they only returned a roll that had the shots before and after, but not those that were during the assassination. He fought for 20 years legally.
20 years. They said, we'll give them to you in 20 years.
To get those things back. And finally, when the time came to get those negatives back, it turned out that they had been burned and disposed of and burned even before the Sirhan trial started. So basically, he's been, made a fool of for 20 years, and those things were destroyed immediately.
The police destroying evidence? No. Folks, that was Massimo Mazzucco. He's the filmmaker behind all of these documentaries. There are 5 of them in the Great Lies in History 5 DVD set for a $250 contribution. You can get each one of those individually, but you would have to pledge $500 for all 5. He's offering them to you for a $250 contribution to WBAI. You can put it on your credit card, 5 DVDs, and you can make as many copies of these as you like to hand out freely. 516-620-3602. I have seen the second Dallas, and it is so amazing. Once you watch that, there is no question in your mind. But we're always told it's the single bullet theory, right? Or it's the one patsy, it's the one guy, it's the lone gunman, it's the blah, 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 blah. We've been lied to so many times. I think that the American people are just used to it. I don't ever want to get used to being lied to. I always want to stand up for truth. That's why I work for this network. Because this network is the one place on the planet that allows journalists to dig deep and to report what's going on and to talk about the other side of the story and to talk about the truth without the corporate media strangling us, without some advertising executive coming in here and saying, you can't say that, or without the fact, did you know that that the intelligence agencies have been well infiltrated in the media for decades? Newspapers, radio, television? Yeah. Not here, not right now. I'm telling you right now. This is worth supporting. It's worth your dollars. That's why you need to contribute to WBAI, because we're not afraid to step out of line and to show you the truth. And we're telling you right now, yes, you've been lied to, but these 5 DVDs are going to tell you the extent to how which you've been lied to so that you can vaccinate yourself from the future lies that come down. It is great material. You can make as many copies of this as you like. Give us a call, though, folks. We need a good 5 or 10 people in the next few minutes. The number to call to get all 5 DVDs is 516-620-3602. It is a great deal, too, because, again, each DVD, if you pledge for, would be $100 a piece. We give you 5 of them. The New American Century, such important information. Cancer, the forbidden cures. The second Dallas, who killed RFK. The true history of marijuana. And it's not just about the amazing properties of hemp and cannabis, but it's talking, too, about the connection they have found, too, that the amazing properties, the anti-cancer properties in cannabis and the cannabinoids that are in the plant. And it's just incredible information. UFOs and the military elite, this is a wild DVD because it just goes into how many years of intimidation, of the Pentagon suppressing the information. If there was nothing to these UFO sightings, why would the Pentagon even want to suppress this information? That's what the filmmaker's asking, and there's lots of brand new information in that. Every single DVD you can make multiple copies of. We have them available to you. The Great Lies in History 5 DVD set, 516-620-3602. The number again, 516-620-3602. Give us a call. Get these DVDs. You can make as many copies of them as you like. Again, 516-620-3602. Every single DVD is available by itself for a $100 pledge, but you would have to pay $500 to get all 5 of those DVDs. You're going to get them in the Great Lies in History pack. It's a 5 DVD set, all of them put together by Massimo Mazzucco for a $250 pledge, or just $20.83 a month. It comes out to be 68 cents a day, and every single one you can make multiple copies of. You can hand out freely to friends and family for a pledge of just $20.83 a month. It will put you on a payment plan. I need to get 20 people all together picking up the Great Lies in History pack for a pledge of just $20.83 a month. Won't you be one of those callers right now? Okay, you have to ask yourself, why is it that history keeps repeating itself, and why is it that we keep falling into these traps? Saddam Hussein had nothing to do with 9/11. But during the ramp up of the war, the media, the corporate media, and public media, public radio as well, just jumped on the bandwagon, and they were allowing these people to say these things on the air, and it got to the point that right before we started doing shock and awe and bombing the snot out of Iraq, that many people thought that Saddam actually had something to do with 9/11.
70%.
That is the power of the media. 70% of Americans.
Yes.
And I know they're educated people. They're not dumb. They're not stupid. But when you have a psyop, when you have a media that just repeats, and you have Fox News who goes completely bonkers and is so excited and so jazzed about war, and they're interviewing the generals, and they're talking about this new plane that can drop bombs, and we have drones, and we have all of this stuff. The violence that we are sitting by, and I'm sorry, if you sit by and watch this happen, there are 5 million Iraqi orphans. Do you know that? 5 million. Could you imagine in this country 5 million of anything? 5 million fish, 5 million people who have been amputated from a war zone, 5 million orphans. Imagine the pain and the suffering that we have put on these people, not to mention Afghanistan. Don't even get me started on that. But the fact is that they have lied, and no one has held them accountable. We should be out of Iraq by now. We should be out of Afghanistan by now. But instead, we keep ramping it up. We have wars and we don't even know what country we're in a war with. And you know what? And I'm sorry, but they talk about public radio. Well, at least you guys have public radio. You know what? We are the only radio station that actually challenges this military-industrial complex. We are the only one. And as far as the public radio and NPR, you know, this just came out too, again, from Russ Baker. I want to thank him so much. At whowhatwhy.com. Just recently, a divided federal appeals court overturned a previous ban on public broadcasting stations running political ads. That's right. So you could be listening to, NPR, and they can run a political ad. We don't take political ad money. We're not going to have any kind of commercial because we are beholden to you, the people. And we know that, both parties, I know that one is like evil and one is evil light. But you know what? Both parties have sold out the American people. And it's about time that the 99% realize that this is something that we have to get smart about. We have to become educated, and we have to say enough is enough. Think about the lies in history, the millions of people that have been affected by these lies, and the American people who have sat back, lived in Disneyland, and everything was fine. If you noticed, everything has been fine and dandy when it happens outside of our borders. When we are causing destruction and hardship and economic hardship on other people, on brown people, on black people, well, it's too bad, but it's over there. Now the chicken has come home to roost. Now we're losing our jobs. Now we're facing troubles. And then now people are waking up. And I'm asking you right now to support the one station within your earshot that allows this information to go out. We can play clips from Operation Northwoods. You can't do that anywhere else. Are you crazy? I needed 20 people to get the pack. We have a few lines open right now. I'm going to let Massimo talk for a little bit because I'm sorry, but this makes me it makes me really mad. It makes me very, very angry. It's not so much you just take one of the DVDs, okay? Even just the cancer DVD. Think about all the millions of people who could have been helped.
8 million people a year die of cancer. That is 20,000 people a day die of cancer. And I am convinced at this point that half of them would not need to die if they knew more and if they were allowed to have more options into natural products that do cure cancer. And by the way, Dr. Simoncini, he is the last chapter of my film, is my very good friend also. I've been interviewing his patients because at the beginning, this is the doctor who cures cancer with sodium bicarbonate. And initially it sounded like a joke. So I asked him to interview his patients, and I started to do that. And if you go on the internet now, you'll find at least 40 of my own interviews on Dr. Simoncini's on people who were terminal and were sent home to die, basically, who went and do the sodium bicarbonate cure and were healed. And guess what? Now, the Arizona University is starting a protocol with sodium bicarbonate to cure cancer. So there's so much vituperated Dr. Simoncini. I hope one day he gets a Nobel Prize because he was the first to say that. What I've done is I've included in the bonus DVD some recent interviews of patients. Two of them are Americans actually that have healed during this following this protocol with sodium bicarbonate. And they're very, very interesting because they really show you not only how you can heal easily, but you don't have to lose your organs. A uterus, a woman with a cancer to the uterus, she was told that she had to remove the uterus. She was 25, 26, she hasn't even had babies early. She tried the Simoncini method. She healed by herself by simply doing douches, washing with sodium bicarbonate. The cancer is completely gone, and now she can have babies. She did not lose the organs, and she's healthy. Of course, that's one less patient that the cancer industry had to milk from. But unfortunately, we would like to have our own lives back. So I think it's absolutely important. When you think of these DVDs, also think of how many people around you can make copies and give them to, and how many more can they give this information to once they've seen it, if they deem it's important. Because it's very important that this kind of word of mouth happens also in copying the DVDs, because this is really the only way you can spread this kind of information. So this is my double encouragement in get my DVDs and duplicate them as much as you want.
So you can make copies of these to hand out freely. It's called the Great Lies in History Pack. It's a 5-DVD set for a pledge of just $20.83 a month. It's 68 cents a day. You can make multiple copies and hand them out freely. In the pack, you get the New American Century, essential for anyone listening to my voice right now. This is about the neocons. This sets it up. This shows you how insane they are. Their insatiable desire for death. This will upset you. This will upset you when you see how our fathers have been lied to and our grandfathers have been lied to, and so many generations have been lied to, and we're still being lied to. I can still hear George Bush saying the mushroom cloud, the Saddam Hussein, and then Connie Rice, the mushroom cloud, and Donald Rumsfeld with the mushroom cloud. It was all a lie to get us into war. And our young men and women who are over there are going to be scarred for life. You don't go to a hellish nightmare like that and come back all hunky-dory because someone has put a flag in your window. That is something that they are going to have to live with, and the ramifications of those actions that have happened there, it's going to last a lifetime. That is how important why we need to stand up, and why you need to stand up for KPFK. Also in this pack, Cancer, The Forbidden Cures, The Second Dallas, Who Killed RFK, a great documentary, The True History of Marijuana. This will also make you upset, too, because you see that we had relied on hemp, and instead of embracing the fact of the great medicinal qualities and the amazing properties of hemp itself as far as a product is concerned. It's proven now
scientifically.
Imagine all the trees we wouldn't have had to cut down. We could have a whole true green revolution if they would but they had to illegalize the entire plant, including the hemp product. So you can make clothes out of it, you can make paper, you can make textiles out of it. This is so insane. We got to stop the insanity. And you also get UFOs in the military elite. I've seen it. It's not a crazy woo-woo movie. It is very, very interesting to see the cover-up that has happened on this issue. And Massimo doesn't take that thing and say, well, this you have to believe in this or that. He just shows you the facts. Here it is, and you come up with your own conclusion, and that's what I like about it. You're not preachy. You don't do any of that. You just say, here's the evidence. You decide. You decide by getting this information, and you can make as many copies of this as you like to hand out freely, have screenings, give it to go to the college campuses. It is such incredible information, and you get all 5 DVDs in the Great Lies in History pack. 5 DVD set for a $250 contribution, tax deductible contribution to a radio station that allows this information to go out over the airwaves. Do you know how powerful that is? I don't know if you do. I was watching corporate media. The last couple of days, television news. And I was really amazed at how they spun so many things, right? We're talking about $80 billion in cuts, and we're talking about all of this stuff, it's just it's supposed to happen, right? The bailouts and all that stuff. It was just supposed to happen, and it just does happen, and there's never any pushback from people. And I remember not too long ago, after they did the shock and awe of Iraq and created all those orphans and created all that death and destruction, that they had put in something like $20 billion in cash. Okay? A lot of that money went to these military contractors, and in particular Halliburton, Dick Cheney's company. You know, I was like, well, how come nobody's following the money with that? How come the day before 9/11 happened, Donald Rumsfeld said that $2.3 trillion was missing from the Pentagon's books? 2.3 trillion. Look it up. Google it. Donald Rumsfeld on September 10th, 2001 said, we don't know what happened to $2.3 trillion. The next day, nobody asked him about that, because the next day, well, you know what happened on 9/11, right? You see what's happening? One hand is doing this, the other hand is doing that, and the corporate media tells you what to focus in on. That is why you need to support WBAI. That is why you need to support Pacifica, because we stop the grinding. We stop everything and go, wait a second, let's ask the questions, like Cynthia McKinney did when she drilled Donald Rumsfeld one day in a Senate hearing and said, what happened to that $2.3 trillion? He looked at her like she had 5 heads. Like, how dare you ask me about that money? Well, I'd like to ask about that money right now, because we're looking at cuts that are going to lay off so many people, that are going to hurt so many people in this country, the people who have been hurt the hardest. And nobody's asking about that $2.3 trillion. Well, I'm asking about it right now. Where is it? Show me the money. And I need you to show me the money right now, because we are running low on time, and I have just a few minutes left to make my plea for you to save this amazing institution, WBAI. The only place you're going to hear this. You know it. It's worth saving, because remember, if you don't call up and pledge your support, and the other person doesn't call up and pledge support, and WBAI, if it goes off the air, one day you're going to tune in to 99.5, and you're going to say, what happened to my radio station? What happened to all those great voices? What happened to Amy Goodman? What happened to the people who are questioning authority, who are asking questions? What happened to those voices? If you don't pledge support, we go away. It's simple, because we're not brought to you by Boeing. We're not brought to you by the military-industrial complex. We're not brought to you by the latest cancer-treating drugs and radiation and chemotherapy. We're not brought to you by banks that have already stolen so much money from the Treasury, and they're probably about ready to do it again. We're not brought to you by any of that. We're brought to you by you, the people. We need your support right now. Please call up. 5 DVD set. You can make as many copies if you want. If you want to make 500, 5,000, go right ahead. The number to call is 516-620-3602. 516-620-3602. I need all hands on deck. I need as many of you calling in and supporting this. And if you want to go in and get these 5 DVDs, go in with a partner, with a couple people, some friends, pledge together. It's $250 pledge, but you get 5 DVDs that were worth $100 a piece. So instead of pledging for $500, you pledge $250. You get the 5 DVDs, and you can make as many. Burn until it hurts, okay? Burn all these DVDs and make copies and hand them out freely. The filmmaker says you can. 516-620-3602. 516-620-3602. Don't get mad. Don't get frustrated. Become active. Pick up the phone now. 516-620-3602. The 5 DVD set, The Great Lies in History Pack. It is yours for a pledge of $20.83 a month. You can make multiple copies of these DVDs, so you can make 5, 50, 500, 5,000, however many you want to. You can burn, baby, burn. You can get in the pack, you get the true history of marijuana, The New American Century, Cancer, The Forbidden Cures, UFOs, and the Military Elite, The Second Dallas, Who Killed RFK, for a pledge of just $20.83 a month. And unlike those other public media outlets, we are not going to be airing political ads. We're not getting paid political ads because we are brought to you by you, the people. And that to me, that is like such a shame. That is such a crying shame that they have folded to that and are going to be running political ads. I think that's insane. It's crazy. It's so crazy. The information that we're talking about, all of this is in the 5 DVD set, The Great Lies of History. Folks, if you called earlier and the lines were busy, we had a huge run. So if you want to focus in on the alternative cancer treatments, there's Cancer, the Forbidden Cures. You can make copies of that and hand out, or you can make copies of The New American Century. The True History of Marijuana is in this. The Second Dallas, Who Killed RFK, and also UFOs and the Military Elite for a pledge of $20.83 a month. The phone lines have opened a little bit, so you can get in right now.
Just one thing I forgot to say about the film on the marijuana. Not only is the industrial aspect the most important, but also the medical one is shown in the film, that now we have actual scientific proof that it cures cancer. Like before, we knew it did, but it wasn't known why. Now they figure out why. It's a very complex system that has to do with endocannabinoids being replicated by the cannabinoids, or rather the cannabinoids, the chemical compounds of the plants, which actually replicate the same exact endocannabinoids which we produce. And when we are short of those, it turns out that the marijuana provides our immune system with them, and so our immune system goes back to work as if it were new. This is a new discovery that it's been made in the last few years, and now they've done tests and they've seen in laboratory level that marijuana actually cures cancer. But of course, nobody's going to tell you that. Nobody's going to tell you that, and they will keep prohibiting it. And even Obama now has turned his back on the medical marijuana and has had raids in California, which I don't think they were expected a month or so ago.
Oh, he's turned his back on a lot. I said, I liked candidate Obama. He was all right. He was against a bunch of stuff that we were all against. And then when he came president, it was like, Guantanamo, keep it open. Oh, indefinite detention. Let's put that into effect, shall we? And again, for those of you who are still sitting there going, well, no, a government would never hurt American people. They wouldn't do that. They always say how much they love us. Do you know? I mean, your film covers the wars that have taken place, the Vietnam and the
each single big war in the last century has been based on an incident that did not exist, or was created or provoked or invented completely, each one.
And we're not even taking into effect, folks, the experiments that they've done, the military has done on citizens. In 1950, they had sprayed bacteria over the city of San Francisco, which caused numerous citizens to get pneumonia-like illness. It killed one person. One family who was, the man who was killed sued for gross negligence, but a federal judge ruled in the favor of the government in 1981. In 1955, the CIA conducted a biological warfare experiment where they released whooping cough from boats outside of Tampa Bay, Florida, and it caused a whooping cough epidemic in the city. So don't think that these people are necessarily looking out for your best interests. You need to keep them honest, but you need to know that they're lying and when they're lying, and we're trying to give you this information so that you're better judges, your judgment on especially when the government lies, that you can sniff it out and you can see what's going on and you can make have a different reaction. Massimo, what can you tell our listeners about supporting the station?
I presume that a listener already has a certain set of mind in a way, so that he or she might be more ready to understand this. But to them, I say, think also of what you can do by duplicating these DVDs and giving them to those who do not listen to this kind of radio station normally, because that's how you spread, how you make the information travel, really. Because if we keep talking about it within each other, it doesn't really go anywhere. But once you start duplicating this and having them duplicate this, then it really becomes important.
The number to call to get the 5 DVD set, and is an incredible deal, folks. These documentaries you can make as many copies of as you like, and as Massimo said, he's encouraging you to make these copies. So do give us a call. It is a 5 DVD set for a $250 contribution. You can put it on your credit card, make payment arrangements. The number to call is 516-620-3602. I urge you to call to get this information, because you know what? If you don't know that you're being lied to, you're really doing a disservice to the rest of the community, your children. This is one thing I've learned, especially when it comes to bullying. People who stand by and let the bully just bully somebody, they're just as implicated in the bullying as the bully is, okay? We got to not stand by and let these politicians bully us into more war and more theft, more grand theft auto. This is, grand theft globe, right? We can't stand back and let this happen, but we need to educate one another, and these are tools to help educate so many people. You can make as many copies of these DVDs as you like. The New American Century is featured in the 5 DVD set. Cancer, The Forbidden Cures, UFOs and the Military Elite, The Second Dallas, Who Killed RFK, an incredible documentary, and one of my favorites in the pack, The True History of Marijuana. It was demonized as some evil weed. First they said, be careful because marijuana will make white women want to sleep with black musicians. Yes, that was the thing back in the day. Jazz, remember? Can you imagine they were even stoking racism to outlaw something what is the most miraculous plant around? The number to call, it's just amazing. The Great Lies in History 5 DVD set. If you got all those DVDs individually, you'd pledge $500. We are asking for just a $250 contribution. There's calls coming in right now, 516-620-3602. Folks, I have 1 minute. That's 60 seconds to get as many of you on the phones as possible. We need your calls right now. I'm sending up the bat signal. We need you. You have no idea what this station is going through. You have no idea how hard these people are working with their hands tied behind their backs, their feet tied together, they're blindfolded, and yet they are still moving forward, trying to give you the truth. Do you appreciate the truth, or do you want to be lied to some more? Because if you want to be lied to some more, turn on CNN and just don't even listen to WBAI. That's it. Just turn on CNN or Fox. But if you want the truth, then you got to participate. We need your help. I need your help. 516-620-3602. I have seconds to go, but I would be remiss if I didn't say great thanks and a beautiful, heartfelt love and appreciation to Cody Benu from Brooklyn, New York, Rohan Pereira from Port Jefferson, New York, also Georges Jean-Pierre from Woodmere. I want to thank Jason Rodker from Somerville, Kenyatta Lambi from Jamaica, and Martha Rojas from North Bergen, New Jersey. These fine folks have stepped up to the plate. They said, I don't want to be lied to no more. I want to find out all the lies that my politicians have said in the past and how many times they lied to my father and my grandfather. They're stepping up to the plate. You too can do that as well by calling 516-620-3602. I'm out of time. I'm Christine Blosdale. It's been my pleasure, my honor to be with you this afternoon. I want to thank Michael Haskins so much for his wonderful board engineering skills. Keep those calls coming in. I do see them coming in. It is a beautiful sight. And the number to call to keep those calls coming in is 516-620-3602. Stay tuned for more incredible Fun Drive programming coming your way right here on WBAI.
And at 6 p.m. in New York, you're tuned to 99.5 FM, WBAI, and WBAI.org on the web. Thank you so much, Christine, for all of your hard work this afternoon. Please stay tuned for a report of some of the day's events with the WBAI News team.
Good evening. In the news tonight, new disclosures by a coalition of justice groups says young people are beaten repeatedly inside Rikers prison. Local labor leaders are expressing outrage over the privatization of Puerto Rico's airport. And New York elected officials had lunch today in the South Street seaports with small business owners, many of whom still haven't been able to get back to work in the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy. With these and other stories, I'm Rebecca Miles in New York, and this is the news for Friday, March the 1st, 2013. President Barack Obama and the Republicans are playing the blame game when it comes to automatic spending cuts that are due to kick in later today. Obama met with lawmakers at the White House this morning and afterwards told reporters, "Let's be clear, none of this is necessary. It's happening because of a choice that Republicans in Congress have made. We shouldn't be making a series of dumb, arbitrary cuts to things." Republicans countered by saying the fault was Obama's for insisting that increased taxes be part of the resolution. Obama says the impact of the cuts won't be felt immediately, but middle-class families will begin to have their lives disrupted in significant ways. He says as long as the cuts stay in effect, Americans will know the economy could have been better had they been averted. Federal employees began receiving furlough notices today as the deep budget cuts known as sequestration went into effect. More than 1 million federal employees face the possibility of unpaid time off due to the across-the-board spending cuts. While some notices are going out today, the furloughs will not actually take effect until April, as the government is required to give employees 30 days' notice. In advance of a city council hearing next week on New York City jails, family members, advocates from the Urban Justice Center's Mental Health Project, End the New Jim Crow, and the New York City Jails Coalition rallied to bring attention to abuse of young men incarcerated awaiting court hearings and trials. WBAI's Linda Perry has the story.
They beat him regularly. I mean, they punched him in the face regularly.
Lisa Ortega is the mother of Kendale Davis, a boy incarcerated at age 16 and brutalized by guards at Rikers Prison. The 130-pound youth was beaten repeatedly and put into solitary confinement for days on end.
They kicked him. They would handcuff him and hit him. They would deny him food. He was in a box most of the time he was in there, which was solitary, and he was only 16. So you don't get fed much when you're in there, if at all. You don't get to come out. Like they say, you do an hour a day. He would stay days at a time without showering or coming out. So he's a changed child. He's not the same child that went in there. And I think that the abuse that happens is rapid, and everyone knows it, and nothing becomes it.
There's no recourse, says Ortega. Who are you going to report abuse to but the guards doing the abuse, she says. Her son came home from Rikers 2 months ago. Kendale Davis is now 18 years old. Ortega says he feels like adults have abandoned him. He has no trust in adults whatsoever. He is bitter, feels worthless.
Not only physically, but mentally, the scars cannot be reversed. It's irreversible damage that's done to people on Rikers Island by the hands of the COs. And it seems like they're given a pass just to do this anytime they want with no accountability from anyone.
Youths placed in solitary, youths being beaten at Rikers. This isn't unusual, according to Jennifer Parrish. She is with the Urban Justice Center's Mental Health Project.
The people who are at Rikers Island, these are the people who are awaiting trial. Most of them have not been convicted of anything. Some of them are there serving a year or less. The rest are there because they're too poor to afford bail. That's why they're there. They're awaiting their charges. They go back and forth to court. And in the meantime, a lot of them get placed in solitary confinement. And the way that fuels the brutality is that in those environments, the correction officers feel free to punish them further. They've determined that the people who are there are troublemakers or doing something wrong, even though you can go there for doing something as minor as possessing tobacco or writing graffiti on the walls. They will put you in solitary, but they see those people as bad, and as a result of that, they feel free to punish them. You have to have a correction escort to go everywhere within the jail, so every time there's contact with them, there's a chance for violence. And we've interviewed 3 young people who were brutalized in the jail in late December. These were not incidents where it's just the correction officer's word against the incarcerated person's word. These are incidents where the mental health staff witnessed them being beaten while they were handcuffed to gurneys. So this is an outrageous problem, that they would feel so brazen that they can beat people while they're in front of civilian staff and feel like they can get away with it.
Fav is with the campaign to end the new Jim Crow out of the Riverside Church Prison Project. He says teens in jail experience different types of torture.
In solitary, there's food torture, there's recreation torture, of course, with 16-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds are kept in solitary for 23 hours a day, 22 hours a day, no programming, no schooling, which is a violation of civil rights. New York City jails actually are quite unique. They don't require any type of mental health screening. They don't require no type of mental health observation, nothing. So, and they actually have pre-hearing detention, unlike New York State, whereas you don't even have to be convicted of a ticket to go to the box. They could just suspect you and put you in the box until they determine the ticket.
Parrish says 75% of those in city jails will be released back into New York City communities.
Do we really want to be exacerbating the problems that they come into jail with, or do we want to be helping them and improving them so that they can be reintegrated into society?
The City Council hearing on New York City prisons is set for March 7th at noon. Testimony is expected from the Department of Probation, Correction, Indigent Defense Services, tasked with creating a blueprint for reform, legal aid, as well as members of the public. They include former inmates, family members, and advocates for the rights of those who are incarcerated. Linda Perry, WBAI News, New York.
At the South Street Seaport area in downtown Manhattan today, gone are the deafening sounds and air pollution